All right, welcome to Smoker Reacts. On this one, seen this video and it said how London street gangs actually work, and I was like, what? And then I heard this nigga talk a little bit, and I'm like, oh, this nigga really singing. He really actually giving details, and I'm like, oh well, I have like a pipeline, so now I can kind of confirm some of this bullshit because in knowing this information, to me, with some of the music that you guys make, some of this information is like considered, we'll say, common knowledge over there. But to an outsider, I'd just be like, what? It works like this? Because if it sure don't work like that over here. So that's why I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So that's why this also is interesting. If you want to watch this with me, thank you very much. If you answer any of my questions, it is greatly appreciated. But yeah, this is just one of those. I'm not really looking for the views. This is more so, hey, if anybody can answer any questions that I can't get through Google, thank you so much. But besides that, let's get into this. Could please hit that like and subscribe, and let's check this out.
My name is Omar Sharif. I was formerly involved in gang activity in London, and this is how crime works.
That's the first question. This shit is okay. This shit can't be. This shit has to be haram, as you guys would say. This cannot be fucking kosher. This cannot be kosher. This is for sure got to be haram. He's either got to know niggas for real that are not. How did you do that? Either this nigga brave as shit, or he know niggas. Only two options.
I was involved in gangs from 2005 until 2011. I'm grateful that I'm still alive, although I've come very close to losing my life inside of gangs. I've had a bunch of knives put to my neck, stomach. I've been stabbed twice in my right leg. I've had guns put to me. The structure of a gang is almost like being in employment. Okay, you have the newbies that come involved, you then have management, you then have senior management. I got involved in a gang when I was around 13 years old, actually from selling sweets in school. I was approached one day by someone who said, how would you like to make more money? And initially I knew what he was talking about. I was scared, but when he started mentioning things about, you can be a man, you can provide for help your parents at home. And when you come from a council flat estate and, sometimes things are not easy, that kind of languaging is enough to make you say, well, okay, can I actually do this? When you join at the age that I did, you're considered a younger. A younger is the street soldier. A younger is the person who just gets employed into the gang. As part of the...
So your younger is RYG. That's crazy. I just thought it was like how old niggas in America, they'll call a little nigga young blood when they're older, like especially if they're from the generation from like the 60s and on. Like them niggas love to call little niggas young blood. So I'm just thinking it's something like that. I didn't know it was something tied to or within gang culture or used in gang culture like that. I thought it was just shit. That's my older. That nigga's older than me. I'm his younger. I'm younger. It's very 1-to-1 to me.
The gang initially as a younger were to hold certain things, were to make deliveries, were to be on call. You're told where to go, what to do, not to look into bags, not to look into boxes. It's just, you're a yes man. And we look up to our elders. So our elders are the people that we aspire to be. The ones that have the money, at the time they had the Gucci belts, the Rolexes, the gold teeth, the nice cars. In a gang, the older is not always in charge, but he is almost like middle management. So he takes control of what gets moved in and out of the area, who's selling what on certain streets, money management, distribution, and he or she, it can be a she as well, they'll have the connections to the people at the top. So it's kind of a chain of command. So they're the ones who normally even groom people into a gang. They're the ones who, when things go a bit sour and people get, hit on, beaten up, sometimes kidnapped, sometimes threatened, it's the elders that they call. But I know from experience that even the elders who we looked up to, they are speaking to people above them. I've seen people who are above the elders who look nothing like us, who don't sound like us at all. I can guess the jobs that they do, and they are...
I'm not gonna lie, I thought this nigga was bald. That nigga got hair. I seen that little ponytail. I thought the nigga was bald. I'm not gonna lie.
very embedded into society, which was quite an eye-opener for me because I thought even as a young black guy in London, it's only guys like me that do this kind of stuff. But actually, we're just their foot soldiers. So even our elders, who we wanted to become, they're still the S-man for someone else. The people who are above our elders in the gang, the highest on the hierarchy, from what I understood, this couple, they were massive on the real estate scene in the UK. They were not involved in themselves in the dirty work, but a lot of the money that went going into their businesses came from the money that a lot of the foot soldiers, the youngers like myself, will be making and passing up the food chain. It's scary to think that when you go to a bank or...
This nigga just gave us the fucking plot of Top Boy. That's what that white lady was doing. Is that shit that accurate? That's crazy. So, hey, you learn something new every day, goddammit. You learn something new every day. What the fuck? I thought that was just a nigga coming up with a good idea. I'm like, that's a great way to wash the money. Smart. Damn.
You're speaking to a lawyer, or you're walking into Greater London and you're talking to someone that's quite high up in business, for example. They have interesting habits on the side or hobbies on the side, because I've seen it with my own eyes.
Goddamn right. And rich people love drugs.
The way that street gangs make their money here in London, there are things like kidnappings, there are hits where someone wants someone to be hurt or killed. But the most common way, which I'd say is what you hear of or see most of day to day, is by selling drugs. Gangs normally have things called trap houses or bandos. Trap houses are places where drugs will be sold from, where they could be stored, weapons. Gang members will be living there.
Will we consider this nigga a grass for this shit? This is grass activity, I feel like. I don't think we're supposed to be doing nothing like this. I appreciate it because I want to learn. I just always like, hey, I like to just smoke. I watch all kind of shit. You have no idea. But this grass activity, right? Or is it because he's a civilian? I don't know. Y'all got to tell me. I don't live there. I don't make the rules.
Looking after the place, for example. And these are required in a number of ways. So these could be places where squatters have been for a while. It could be someone else's home that belongs to the gang. And these are safe spots for the gang. So if anything happens, you'll get a call saying, right, meet us at the trap house. We know where that is. The address is never texted over a phone. It's never spoken over a phone. It's always told, verbally, so there's no traces to where it could be. And if they're in the area the gang belongs to, the police immediately will make a connection. Gang wars can start over the smallest things or the biggest things. Smallest things could be
It's always over a bitch.
Club or a rave, and
it's
from there someone gets stabbed, and then it's a whole, we need to retaliate, we need to send a message, we need to show them who we are. So they round up everyone, and then it's now not just one person versus one person, it's actually a gang versus gang, postcode versus postcode, and now we're talking 50 to 100 people plus. It got to a point where we were having...
There'll be 50 to 100 of you niggas fighting outside like them clashes I used to see between them schools and high schools out here in America. It would be like 100 kids outside. Niggas be outside fighting. That shit was crazy. So you're telling me you niggas is outside like gangs of New York, but it's in London? But niggas is just outside with fucking sticks and knives and bats and poles? Jesus Christ, what the fuck is going on over there?
Having postcode.
I didn't see none of this shit. What the fuck? I didn't see none of this shit. That's how I know I was just walking around my head in the clouds. I was just on my mission the whole time. I was like, nothing's gonna stop me. I didn't see none of this shit. Not one problem. The fuck is this shit?
Wars, meaning it was my block, NW1 versus NW5. These gang wars started because people started to become greedy. People were looking for power, people were looking for just to be significant, and also people wanted to rise up. Postcode wars are also named interstate wars. This is something that started even in the 60s, 70s, which areas became smaller or bigger, and it's a way of protecting territory. Now there are things called block wars, estate wars, which are even within the same postcode. There is such rivalry, there is such demand for who is more important, so it goes from area, postcode, now to blocks, which creates further division. Years ago, it seemed to be more of a reason as to why.
that makes so much sense why niggas, I'm always like, why don't these niggas just let it go? Cause it's so fractured. Ain't no way I can let that shit live. What are you talking about?
They're going to war because something big happened. Even recently, I was mentoring about 10 young boys from a school, and one of them said to another one something offensive about his mum. That spilled out from school, and because it was filmed and put on social media, one of them actually ended up getting stabbed. There
Oh,
was a
damn.
video of around, to me, looked like 60 people having a fight. I could see weapons, I saw machetes coming out. What are they fighting over? Essentially, it's nothing, really. Those fights are not happening over drugs, not happening over a threat from someone outside. It's just two male egos that can't have a conversation, and it has to result in violence, and then sometimes even death. Although guns are easy to source, knives are still the bigger problem. We hear more deaths happening from knives than gunshots for sure. Maybe because the laws around knives aren't that regulated, because they say if you carry a knife, you go to prison for 4 years, but then I hear people getting 3, 4, 5 warnings. So people aren't really taking the law seriously. And nowadays, when you hear about someone being stabbed, it's a younger against a younger. Olders don't get involved with stuff like that. And these youngers are not going to be able to get hold of a gun unless they steal it from someone.
Old niggas ain't got time to stab nobody for real. Old niggas be shooting folks. What the fuck you niggas? How you get guns so easy? That make it seem like you niggas got muskets and flintlock rifles, and you got to be a farmer to get a shotgun. But then let you niggas tell it. You like, nigga, I could find a gun faster than I can find a job. This is like Chicago.
Or steal it from the trap house, for example. For any under 18-year-old to get a knife, it's as easy as going onto Amazon and clicking something for next day delivery, and it gets delivered. It's not regulated. I know even on Snapchat, there are accounts on Snapchat every day where they say, hey, we have 5 machetes, we have 5 army knives with knuckle dusters attached to it. Who wants this? I've seen axes with chains. Why are they making these things? Why are they not asking for proof of ID? Some websites might say you must be over 18 to buy this. That has never deterred anyone under 18 to say, okay, ooh, I shouldn't do this. They don't know that by making that sale and then delivering it to that house, that young person goes and kills someone here. They're part of that cycle, but they're so far attached from that. In the UK, there is a law around carrying a knife around the size of the blade itself being less than 3 inches. It has to be foldable, and you shouldn't be carrying it for the wrong reasons. I've been stopped and searched before, and sometimes I did have a knife on me, but I did have a foldable knife, and I wasn't in a state of anger. So the guy said to me, actually, if he caught me and I was in a state of anger, then he would have arrested me. And that made me realize, actually, they don't have a correct way of policing this, because I knew so many guys who would carry bigger blades than that, ones that you can't fold. And they'd be walking with those on high streets, for example. I've never heard of someone going to prison for carrying a knife.
What?
So I grew up in Marylebone, which essentially is a very, very nice area. However, there is a division, because there's one side of Marylebone where you have very nice mansions and nice flats with nice cars. That's not where I lived. I lived on the other side. I lived on the other side where it's council flats, it's block towers. Even though it's on our doorstep, we're brought up with a mindset and a belief system that we're not good enough for that. It's easy for anyone to be interested in joining a gang for many reasons. The young people, normally it's to do with money. The other main reason is that belonging. It's having a family, having that brotherhood, a sisterhood. We don't go to private schools, right? We go to just public schools, and that's where it all starts. I didn't run to a gang and say, hey, I want to be in your gang to make money. I tried to go down the proper route. You know, I borrowed some clothes to go to interviews. I applied for 50 jobs when I left school, and no one said yes to me. If society is not allowing me to make money in this way, but there's a lifestyle which could, where do I go? The first thing they do is befriend you, is they welcome you in, so they make you feel a part of a family. The second thing is to spoil you somehow. You know, if they know you need money, they give you some money. If they know you're hungry, you get some food. Then they test you somehow. They may ask you to hold something for them. They may ask you to be somewhere at a certain time. And normally, they've set something up to get you robbed on purpose. They set you up in some way to see what you say.
Am I just the only one that feels like this nigga's just recounting what happens to Ats in Top Boy? Or is it just me and that's just my only frame of reference? So that's just how my brain is aligning it. But I just feel like he's just recounting the TV show. That's just how I feel at this point.
Hey, because that's them checking in on, ooh, can we trust this person? It's really bad the way they make you trust them and actually love them as a family, but you're just a pawn in a bigger game. In a gang, it's almost like putting together a fantasy football team. Different strengths. Someone could be fast, someone could be a good driver, someone could be a good fighter, someone could stab and not care about it, someone could steal. So when they recruit for a gang, I would say there are qualities that they look for. The number one thing they look for is loyalty, but they also look at how can they strengthen the gang? What can that person bring to the table? New gang members are recruited on a geographical basis. So the local recruitment is, I think, the priority for a gang, because they need to have numbers high. They need to have a certain amount of people on road doing certain things, a certain amount of people moving, distributing, managing. So in the UK, we have something called county lines. This is where a lot of the inner city gangs, there's no more territory. Everything's been divided up. So they're now thinking, all right, how can we expand? So county lines are where these gangs want to operate in smaller towns, smaller cities, rural areas, and they normally use young people for this. So you may have heard of a term going OT, which is going out of town, and they're facilitated by the elders. So the elders would have someone in place who may live in a smaller town. They may have someone who has a farmhouse somewhere, train tickets, everything is paid for the young person. They're given a budget, they're given money for lunch and things like that. They'll tell them to dress how they dress normally. They'll give them a backpack, say, look, don't open the backpack, here's the address, go here, wait here, or call this number, for example. The whole point of doing that is so that police will say, well, it's a young person, we don't have to search them. I think in some way the UK is influenced by the US, not just on the rap scene. I know the drill scene came out, but also there's always a bit of competition. For example, the USA, the Bloods versus Crips, that also came here in the UK, and that was a massive scene for a while. There was a period where it just became colours. So there was just the bandana, which represented which color, which gang you're from. That's really why we started to see, music videos become more grimy. We started to see more killings. We started to see more weapons on the street. So in the US, you have gangs like BMF and GD have been going on for 30 years plus, Latin Kings. I feel that in the UK, gangs are more divided. Here in the UK, you can have an estate, a block, and even within that block, it's divided, blocked, from block to block, street to street. That's what I experienced, and nowadays, I'm sure it's even worse. So the main difference for me is the size of the operation, but also it seems that they have more stability and more structure in the way that it creates longevity. I believe social media plays a massive role in the rise of gang violence because of the exposure that they get. I've interviewed a young person in prison, and he said the reason why he killed the people he's killed is because of songs that he'd listened to. He said he wanted to recreate that in real life. And I'm focused on young people because they're the...
I'm not allowing that shit. You should have challenged that bullshit. It's not just the fucking songs you're listening to, nigga. You was already on some demon time shit. That shit reaffirmed some shit you already wanted to do. And just put the... Oh my God, this motherfucker. I hate shit like this.
The vulnerable ones. They're the ones who aren't able to make a decision for themselves yet. I know for sure that there's going to be some collateral damage from these things, because when you listen clearly, if you can understand what they're saying in these drill songs, it's scary. What's allowed to be sold and listened to publicly and shared on radios, for example, because young people will listen to that and they want to replicate that because they think, okay, he is now my role model.
No. The nigga already has a social economic issue, but you want to blame the music. The shit that he gets to on the back end. That's why he's doing it. Like, that shit is so stupid. Why is the nigga not jumping off of fucking buildings then? In Fortnite, you can jump off of fucking buildings. Why is he not doing that? Oh, because he knows that shit's not fucking... Like, no. There's no accountability in trying to blame the media one consumes when a motherfucker does a madness. People need to be held accountable. That motherfucker did some stupid shit because he did some stupid shit. That's... Oh, my fucking God. The peer pressure of hanging out with a group of 10 niggas at the same time is far more dangerous in having those idle hands than fucking the music the niggas listen to. Like, you're a fucking... Oh, these niggas are so stupid. It's so stupid. It's so dumb.
Model, my idol, for me to be deemed as someone successful, I need to do what he's doing. For children to avoid being targeted for gangs, it comes down to discipline for me. It's really understanding what you're getting yourself into. I think the way gangs are policed nowadays, it's difficult because it made me feel so embarrassed, to be stopped and searched in front of my mum, and she cried at home saying, why do they think my son is this kind of person? And I hated seeing her upset. But if I put their hat on, I think, right, well, if we stop and search everyone that looks like the criteria or stereotype, we could find another weapon and take it off the streets. For me, that's the wrong approach, because not everyone who looks a certain way belongs in that stereotype. I think stop and search should be reviewed as a policy, because if you find one young person and he's carrying a knife that's under 3 inches long that is foldable, they'll take it away, slap on the wrist, have a good day. Next day, he'll go find exactly the same knife from somewhere else, carry it again. Instead of creating or deepening that hate, you should try and create a relationship by doing things like going into schools. I've always said that you need to speak their language. If you want to police them, sit down and talk to them. A brother of a friend of mine, a while back, he was caught on the streets.
How about we stop spending money on extra policing and spend that money on giving these niggas something to actually fucking do, instead of having to fucking be outside on the road all the goddamn time? Like, your fucking approach and acquiescing to the program that these motherfuckers already have set up is just why shit doesn't get fixed. And why when little niggas that are actually outside, they hear niggas like this talk, I'm like, that nigga's dumb. That nigga's dumb. That nigga's dumb as shit. Fuck you talking about you need to come into the school. They're not in fucking school, bro. What are you talking about? They're already on job. How are you fucking reaching? Who are you reaching? The nigga that already is at school? He's at school. He's not even at, oh my God. How do we, damn it. When I clicked on this, I thought I was going to enjoy listening to this person speak. I really did. This shit is gone left. This fucking person just, oh man, the system beat this nigga. They took his mind. Fuck. Damn it. No wonder them niggas fucking went outside after fucking getting into a fucking spat and fucking filming it, and that shit turned into some shit. But them was the little niggas that you was fucking mentoring. You fucking, oh my God, you not reaching niggas. Not with this bullshit.
He didn't have a lot of drugs on him, but he had enough, and he was arrested and went to prison for a short while. If someone said to him, hey, listen, we know what you're doing out here. How about we offer you an opportunity to earn money with us, or we'll find you a job? And you've got to think of it like this. Prison is a business. Every single person that gets put into prison, someone's getting paid. It's a good deterrent for some people because...
Do you guys have privatized prisons in the UK? Is that allowed over there?
Some people might take that as a lesson, saying, well, I know a friend of mine was carrying something and got arrested. I shouldn't do it too. But for the most people, it's not enough. In prison, there's more going on there.
If going to jail for life when you murder somebody is not a deterrent, the shit that you were talking about you can't make a more stringent law. You already have the most stringent one. You knock a nigga down, you go to jail for life. You're now talking about, oh, well, the law's just not enough. It's just not enough. Making it worse and more punitive and draconian is not going to make a nigga be like, oh, well, shit, I'll get 45 years for moving a key. There's still a nigga who's going to move that key. You have to find another solution. In making more punitive fucking laws and fucking choices and saying, oh, well, now that's going to fix it, is the dumbest shit. And that's exactly how we have the problems we have now. Did you not pay attention to any parts of the drug war? Like, none of the shit sunk in. None of the shit sunk in. This shit is ridiculous.
There than on the streets. And this is what we don't hear about on the news. There's people dying in prisons. The gangs are still doing the same thing in prison.
Because of the guards. We don't want to have that conversation, though. Because them niggas is what? Stuck in that prison. It's not like they fucking walking the drugs in themselves. Like, why is he talking like this? He talking like he worked for... He got to be the feds. He the feds. He's a grass. Y'all don't even got to tell me now. That nigga for sure grass. How the fuck are you talking like this? And you say you was outside. What? This nigga was outside long enough to be able to tell us what's going on, but not to understand. Damn.
I believe wealth inequality definitely contributes towards gang activity, gang violence. The
It's
way
the
these
main
gangs make their
problem.
money, and also from
Doesn't
personal
contribute to
experience,
it. It's
is
the
through
issue.
drugs. Predominantly. If 90% of the money comes from drugs and you make it legalized, one thing can happen, that there's going to be too much demand for it. So either the gangs will start fighting even more because now they've got an open market, for example, or it could destabilize them because
Neither.
the second that companies here, pharmaceutical companies, will start getting involved, and they're massive players, that will completely eliminate the gangs. So will they have money to buy weapons? Will they have money to even fund gang wars anymore? It probably wouldn't happen. For many young people who carry knives, one of the reasons, and one of my
What
initial
the
reasons,
fuck
was
is he
because
talking
we
about?
feel unsafe, or we've heard about people being stabbed and we want to be able to protect ourselves. I don't think there's a quick fix to trying to make a young person feel safe. The way to solve the issue and deter them from it isn't by fear, because that doesn't work. It's by re-educating them on the consequences of these things. And I say giving people an opportunity, showing people more love. These people that are involved in gangs, they did everything they did because they wanted to feel love from people. They didn't get love from home. They didn't get that affection at home. But when they did something, the gang showed them a respect, and that's what drew them in even deeper. One thing I know that's changed over the years, and that would still help other people feel safe in gang-led areas, is the presence of youth centres. And these were places where you could have rival gangs come to the same building, make music together, play pool together, play basketball together, and it was a place of safety. When you have something that you're passionate about and have something that you care about, it removes the amount of time you spend with the gang. It removes the amount of time you spend on the streets. Schools do have a big part to play in gang culture, and it works both ways, because I've seen how if you have a school that's in the middle of 3 areas that are having a war, for example, then you have a big issue, because then you have, just like in prison, you have gang activity happening at school. It will take a community approach to remove or reduce, gang violence and gang activity, but I think it has to be a complete united front from all levels of society. If I had to look at London gangs 10 years from now, I can see the problem becoming
Shit's gonna be the
deeper.
military.
I can see a culture which is being even more embedded into society. I think London gang culture will become almost like a standard for other gangs and other countries. There are young people who don't look at the seriousness of this. They will see it as it's cool. They will see it as it's a thing to be, just like I did when I was young. So yeah, 10 years from now is a scary place, especially as a parent. Trying to get out of a gang is one of the hardest things you can do. I didn't have a choice. It got to a point where I had to go out of the ends. So leaving the area where I was from, I had to move to a different area. And this is because I've seen people die. This is because I got attacked. I'd been stabbed myself. And I just knew in my mind there were 2 directions for me. There was prison, or there was being stabbed or ending up dead. But it was in that moment of darkness where I realized I need to make a bigger decision. I need to make a decision of what I'm going to do with my life. But it took me going and speaking to the people who were my elders and saying, and exactly telling them what I'm telling you right now on camera, is that I've had enough, and that my mental health at the time wasn't in a good place. I wasn't able to speak to any of them ever again. I wasn't welcomed. I was actually advised to stay out of the area because I was actually able to get out of the situation. I feel a responsibility to be a voice to other people. Since leaving the gang, my number 1 priority was to work on myself to become a better person. So right now, I'm a mentor and a coach. As a mentor, I work with young people in schools, prisons, universities, helping them understand their mindset, helping them to make better decisions. And as a peak performance coach, I'm working with individuals to do exactly the same thing, but also to help them understand what drives them as humans. There are definitely aspects of being around the gang activity that I do regret. But right now, what I'm doing with young people, adults, and people at all levels of society, I wouldn't be able to have those conversations if I didn't go through what I've been through.
I think his reliance on having a background that is credible, I think that shit is a crutch because he rely on that shit too much. Because he sounds just like the fucking system. And why shit stays the fucking same. You out here preaching the same exact shit niggas was telling you when you was a little nigga. But now you the nigga telling little niggas that shit. And you think that shit's gonna change the fucking loop. Yeah, you gonna save some niggas and you were doing some good. I'm not trying to say my niggas not doing no good at all. But I'm saying that until we are honest about we have to change how we fucking approach the entire fucking get down and the way that niggas have been fucking trying to change the loop does not actually work. Look at the fucking numbers. The numbers are not in your favor. Like that altruistic, I've done something good because I did a little good shit doesn't change shit. It doesn't. And if we're not honest about that shit, that's why little niggas hear niggas like this talk and they be like, this is air. It's air. I still gotta go outside, my nigga. Like, you don't have no answers for that. Until we have answers for that shit, my nigga, like, no, like, stop it with this shit. And then you come around towards the end with all the youth centers. Goddamn right. But the youth center's still a place. If we're gonna fucking have little niggas come to the youth center, then instead of having them fucking policed, we need to do, yeah, we for sure need to have security there. But that's where we need to pour fucking money into. So them niggas have shit to do. Cause you're right. When a little nigga has idle hands, it's dangerous. You give them shit to do, and they'll never have time to do nothing. Doesn't matter fucking whatever the fucking roads have to say. Nigga, I could go do this Connect set over here and be cool. Like, and you're not even trying to talk about how, like, it doesn't even matter if we give him something to do. When that nigga go home, what's that shit like? Nigga, home life for sending nigga to the roads. Like, this, oh my God. Get them at the school, but they already on the streets. How? How? Somebody explain this shit to me. I'm an outsider, and this shit don't make no sense to me. So somebody has to make this shit, like, understandable. Because all I've taken from this is how the structure works. Because I did not know it worked like that at all. That is fucking completely different to America. And then how this nigga thinks like old white niggas in suits who have been making bad policies on minority populations since fucking the entirety of time. But I'm just a nigga with a microphone and a camera. Please let me know if I'm fucking wrong. I just don't think this is the fucking way. This is why we have status quo. This nigga is a for sure status quo, like, maintainer. This shit just keeps the shit online. Oh my God. Shit is terrible. It's terrible. Fucking hell. Jesus. Yeah, that's good. That's gonna be it for me. Yeah, whenever this drops, please let me know what you guys think, cause like, I don't even know if anybody watches this. I don't know. But yeah, thank you. I'll see you guys on the next one. I'm out of here. Please hit that like and subscribe.